respected. Yeah. And here's the thing, a lot of the Latino anti-blackness, a lot of that is minimized. A lot of anti-black racism in Latin America and in Latin communities, especially in the US, it's ignored or dismissed because it's so normalized. So there's no accountability for that. That's why I don't, that shit ain't gonna fly with me. Y'all haven't dealt with the anti-black racism within your culture. Yeah. So yeah, I got some issues with that. No, we got to be very real. They haven't come to terms. What's up, Strella? Shout out to Strella, my sister Strella in the building. But yeah, y'all haven't come to terms with that. Listen, we almost got 3,000 people. When we get 3,000 people, I'm going to show the new Root Work commercial. Yeah, respect is still relevant. You still have to show respect even on the streets. I don't give a damn if we lived in the hood and ate jelly sandwiches together, whatever. It's going to still have to be some respect. You know? But listen, over in Mexican culture in particular, we got to be very real. It started off with anti-black racism and continue with anti-black racism. In Mexico, there was some ethnic cleansing going on. We got to really understand Mexican culture. See, after slavery there, remember, Mexico was a slave colony. They try to act like it wasn't. But there was a systematic whitening process. La Raza Cosmica. Post-independence Mexico, they kind of adapted this national ideology based on the mestizo ideal. They were promoting the mixing of indigenous and European Spanish blood, excluding the African ancestry, because they have African ancestry. And they were deliberately trying to whiten the nation and erase blackness from Mexican identity. It was the cosmic race. There was a guy named Jose, I think his name was Vasconcelos, I think that was his name. He wrote a few books, but yeah, Jose Vasconcelos, I think that's his name. He had this ideology of the cosmic race, saying that Mexicans are really Europeans. We got to stop this othering and embrace our Europeanness. That was his thing. And all of that Meta La Raza stuff, we got to whiten up. That was their whole thing. They made a concerted effort to do that. You know? And even under Spanish rule, when Spain owned that area, they had the caste system down there, and they ranked people based on their racial background. Africans, Afro-mixed people, mulattoes, Zambos, they had all types of racial categories down there. So the darkest were placed at the bottom. They faced legal and social and economic discrimination, and still do. And that racial hierarchy from the Spanish led to that anti-black sentiment that's still prevalent down there now. And now there's just a whole denial of black identity in Mexican history. They act like they're a black free nation. Mofongo, Menudo, Fandango, all of that stuff comes from black culture down there. Yeah. And they've erased the Afro-Mexicans from textbooks, from national identity. I think they just recently recognized the Afro-Mexicans down there. Yeah. And they had, in 1781, they had a royal decree banning black immigration there. You know, they didn't let black folks come up in there because they had enough. And then they started ethnically cleansing the Afro-Mexicans. People like Vicente Guerrero, who became president, who was black, and they got rid of him. They offed him, the white Mexicans offed him because he was going to make everything equal. He was the one who actually got rid of slavery there. And then you have organizations like LULAC, and we talk about them all the time, how they went out of their way to say, hey, don't classify us as Mexican. We want to be classified as white. The U.S. gave Mexicans their own racial category. It was LULAC, one of the biggest Latin American advocacy organizations. They said, no, don't give us, no. We want to be white. Don't let them fool you by them running around talking about, oh, we're forced to be white. No, no, no. They fought to be white. They absolutely fought for it. Yeah. Somebody said, right, they need to write a book called Hidden Burritos. Yeah, man, the civilization down there, man, it was seeped in blackness. All of the wars and stuff, it was black people, the black Mexicans down there participating in the wars. Come on now. So when they start talking about their indigenous and all of this, listen, because when we start talking about reparations, then they want to jump in the conversation. Well, we're indigenous too. Not really. You had an ethnogenesis. They had an ethnogenesis, like we had an ethnogenesis here. They had an ethnogenesis there. Now, the thing is, there's always been black people. Or there's been black people forever. There's been black people on this land. All right? There's always been black people. But there was no such thing as an ethnic Mexican before 1522. There wasn't. A Mexican person is somebody mixed with Spanish, African, and Native. All right? That's what makes you a Mexican. Spanish, African, and Native. That's the mix. They try to deny that African mix now. Yeah? But there was no Mexicans before 1522. There was no ethnic Mexicans. Yeah? People try to say the Aztecs and all of that, but most people are not descendant of the Aztecs. There's a bunch of different other little tribes down there. But yeah, the first Mexican can be traced to one dude. It was one dude who was the first Mexican. It was a dude named Martin Cortez. That was Hernan Cortez's son. Hernan Cortez, he was one of the conquistadors, one of the explorers who went down in Mexico. And they had black people with them, by the way. They had Juan Garrido and people like that, who was black. That was the first person to cultivate wheat down there. And some people said that Juan Garrido actually procreated with one of the natives before Hernan Cortez. So the first mestizo that many people believe was actually black down there in Mexico. But technically, they say the first Mexican, ethnic Mexican, was Martin Cortez. That was Hernan Cortez, his father, and he got with some native woman down there. I forgot what tribe she was from. I forgot what tribe, but she was a translator, and he had a baby with her, and they had the first Mexican. And that was in 1522. Before then, a Mexican didn't exist. You understand? So we got to be very clear on these terms. So when people start talking about where this person came from and who came from that, who came from this, well, we've been around. We, foundational Black Americans, we've been around. And we got to really understand real history out here, know history, so that when people start talking about we don't know where we came from and all that, a lot of these people had their own ethnogenesis around the same time. We got 3,000 people in here. Do we have 3,000 people? Okay, here we go. Now, family, are y'all ready to see the new Rootwork commercial? All right, give me a retweet. Y'all give me a retweet. Are you ready to see the new Rootwork commercial, ladies and gentlemen? We got a new Rootwork commercial, and this is a cool one.